Developed by Silicon Studios and released in Japan in November 2009 and North America and Europe in May 2010. We have 3D Dot Game Heroes, exclusively for the PS3. And this is a game I was anticipating for quite some time since when I first found out about it. Let's pop it in the old PS3 and check it out. Now, if you know nothing about 3D Dot Game Heroes, let me tell you, this game is one big homage to 8-bit gaming, and especially The Legend of Zelda. In the beginning, you can see you get to pick out whatever character you'd like to play as, and they have different abilities and things of that nature. And you can actually create your own character too. But I went with just the standard hero from. Now, as you can see, there is no actual voice acting and voice dialogue. It's all text with that sound effect that was so common back in the Nintendo NES era. It was just like a little typing type sound effect as the letters appeared on the screen. And that was done just to let you know that there was actual text appearing on the screen. Anyhow, it's a great effect in this game. Especially when the first text of the game is a series of dots. That was so common in the early 80s as an intro opening text. You can't believe how common it was. It was just great to see. It made me laugh. Anyhow, you start the game as the ancient hero of the past. And you only play with him shortly, and all you have to do is deliver your magical sword into the stone. Then shortly thereafter, you take over as the character you selected or created to actually play the game. Now, the story for 3D Dot Game Heroes is an interesting one. It's an obvious Zelda parody. Instead of the Triforce, there's light orbs and all kinds of things like that. The princess you have to rescue who went to look for the light orbs. And blah, blah, blah. It's just a great big parody of the Zelda 1 game. And not only is the story a parody, but the actual gameplay dynamics and even look and feel of the game is a direct homage to Zelda and other 8-bit games. The actual backstory is kind of interesting and humorous. Way back when, the Kingdom of Dotnia, which is where this takes place, was all 2D, and then tourism dropped off. So the king decided to make everything 3D to try and get tourism back to Dotnia. Anyhow, now there's an evil force, there's an evil bishop and a dark king or something who has unleashed monsters to the kingdom and done something with the light orbs. I'm not quite sure what. I haven't really paid that close attention to the storyline because it's all like kind of tongue-in-cheek humorous. Here we have a direct classic line. It's so dangerous to go alone, take this. I think that's the intro opening line of text in the Zelda 1 game. Or at least a rough approximation of it. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of the game. The gameplay is very reminiscent of Zelda 1 and a little bit of Zelda 2. Well, not really so much Zelda 2, but definitely Zelda 1. A little bit of Link to the Past. Don't mistake that for a game being easy. I mean, it's simple, but it's not exactly easy. The combat system is a little difficult to get used to. You do have a regular sword, and when you power it up with full health, after you get rid of the wooden sword here, you have a gigantic sword, which is like ridiculous. but you get quite adept after a while at using the giant sword to kill multiple enemies at once. The graphics are obviously unique in this game, and I think charming is an appropriate word, although it did feel a bit like I was playing a Lego game, like Lego Star Wars or something along those lines. It just had that slight Lego feel to it, which kind of, I guess, took away a little bit for me. But otherwise, the game absolutely has a unique style of graphics, and is certainly charming to look at and play. Ditto for the sound, too. The sound is all reminiscent of the Nintendo NES era of video game music. Here we see the regular sword, and I got full power, and now I have the gigantic sword. And there is a dynamic in this game where you can take your sword to a blacksmith and increase the width and length of it, and impart other attributes to it, which is quite interesting. Now, much like the original Legend of Zelda, there's an overworld and a labyrinth underworld where the bosses are, and instead of Triforce, you're recovering the light orbs. So here we see one of the underground labyrinths. And if by now you haven't noticed, there's more than just a passing resemblance to Zelda. Some of the enemies are actually taken directly from the game, more or less. So if you're an old school gamer and you have a PS3, this is a definite must-buy. It is a budget title. It just came out and it's only $39.99, as opposed to a $59.99 standard new PlayStation 3 game. My only complaint with this game is it's relatively short, but the budget price makes up for it, and there's plenty of little side quests and mini games to play to keep you occupied. It's a definite must-have if you have a PS3. I'm Dommy from Classic Games Revisited. Until next time.